Okay, so welcome back, and now we're going to introduce another law called the law of cosines. So there are two other cases where we won't be able to use the law of sines, and that's if we know two sides and the angle between them. Okay? Or the other case is that if we know all three sides. In either one of those cases, we will not be able to use the law of sines because we will not have enough information to do so. And so now what we're going to do is turn our attention to what we call the law of cosines in these two cases. So let's derive that law. Okay, so using this triangle, I'm going to label some of the other aspects of this. So we have a triangle ABC. We drop a perpendicular line segment from C to the side opposite of it, C, and we create the line segment CD. It's a perpendicular line segment, or the altitude, right? This is the altitude of the triangle. And so we'll label this H, okay, the height of the triangle. Now, this is C. Well, let's call, well, we got to represent these two distances somehow. Let's call, it really doesn't matter, but let's call this X, and let's call this, well, let's call this X. And let's call this C minus X. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for one of these sides. Okay? So let's do that. So, let's solve for B. So B squared is equal to, right, this side squared plus this side squared. So it's going to be C minus X quantity squared plus H squared, right? So far so good, right? So now what are we going to do with that? Well, let's see what we can add to this. Okay, and so let's expand. Okay, so if we expand this out, this is going to equal C squared minus 2CX plus X squared plus H squared, right? Okay. Now, what about the other triangle? So let's do this one, right? So in this one, we could say A squared is equal to X squared plus H squared. Right? So far so good. Now, what are we going to do with that? Well, if we solve for H, right, because what do we get if we solve for H? How do I want to do that? Yeah, let's do it. Yes. So if we solve for H squared, so H squared is going to equal a squared minus x squared. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and substitute it into that, right? And so what does that give us? That gives us b squared is equal to c squared plus, right? So this is going to be, well, let's just add it. So c squared minus 2cx plus x squared, and then instead of h squared, we're going to have a squared plus a squared minus x squared. Okay, so now what happens? This cancels with this. All right, good. Now we end up with b squared is equal to what? A squared plus c squared minus 2cx. Okay, now what are we going to do with that? Well, look at x. What is x? What is x equal to? Well, if we look at b, let's just look at angle b. If you look at angle b, what, we don't want to use h, but how can we use x in relationship to b and a? Okay, and this is where cosine comes in. So cosine of b is adjacent over hypotenuse, and in this case, x over a. So so we get sine b is equal to x over a. So that means x is equal to a sine b. Now let's plug that in here. So that's going to give us a squared plus c squared minus 2. X is equal to this, a sine b. So 2 times ac sine b. And that gives us one of the laws of cosine. B squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2 times ac times this, oops, not sine. Oh, did I say sine? Oh, what am I doing? Cosine. Gosh, I'm saying cosine, but I'm writing down sine. Ugh, bad. Okay. My bad, sorry about that. Cosine b. Okay. So this is one of the laws of cosine. So now again, the other two laws are derived similarly. Okay. So what are the three resulting equations for the law of cosines? Well, it's a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine a. So it's always, whatever side you're solving for, it's going to be the other two sides, and then involves cosine of the angle between them, or opposite this one. So then b squared would be the other two, so it would be a squared plus c squared minus 2ac, and then cosine the angle opposite the side we're solving for. So in this case, b. And then finally, c squared would equal a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. And that is the law of cosines. Have a great day.